At T-Mobile, our critical mission is providing unparalleled 5G coverage for when connectivity is mission critical. Introducing T-Priority, America's best 5G network experience for first responders, even in times of congestion. More capacity, faster speeds, better coverage. T-Priority from T-Mobile, built for tomorrow's emergencies, ready today. Discover more at t-priority.com.
For qualifying organizations on eligible rate plans, coverage not available in some areas and may be impacted by emergencies.
Good night, itchy eyes. Good night, sudden sneeze. Good night to your symptoms of allergies. Xyzal is the allergy medicine you take before bed. It provides powerful relief while you rest your head. Not just all night, but all the next day. Xyzal keeps working, keeping allergies at bay. And without those annoying symptoms disturbing your rest, you can wake up the next morning feeling your absolute best. Remember, be wise all. Take Xyzal. At night.
Welcome back, everyone, to another fantastic episode of the Every Pokemon Episode Ever podcast. I am one of your hosts this week, Professor Chris G, and on the other line with me is the man that broke into my house and said that he doesn't need an invitation. It's good old Dougie Fresh. Dougie, my man, how are you doing?
You said my door's always open to you, so I don't think I don't consider it breaking in. I just consider it popping over.
It is. Oh man, how are you doing, brother?
I'm good. We're into November. We're right around the corner from something we don't need to get into because it's not the place for it.
Yes, sir. And let's see, and we got some Pokemon news getting ready to come up pretty soon. I mean, so it's not something that our podcast is going to cover like in detail, but it really sucks because it seems like Game Freak got hacked a few weeks ago. And,
oh no!
And a lot of things have been coming out in regards to Pokemon Legends, ZA, and different things like that. But I stayed away from all the spoilers. But it sucks that something like that even happened. Because what happened to the days of just being surprised when a video game comes out? What is so spectacular that you need all the information way before the video game is even coming out?
I'm trying to figure that out because, we went through that, a couple of years ago when Insomniac got hacked. And, all the stuff about, the upcoming Venom video game leaked. Wolverine, Spider-Man 3. And I mean, we see the effects because I feel like when we started initially hearing about it, I think Wolverine was supposed to be like a 2025 release.
Yeah.
And outside of that teaser trailer that they aired at some conference, I haven't seen hide nor tail about Wolverine because I think they had to go back to the drawing board on a lot of it.
Well, yeah, because there was playable copies of the video game online, unfinished playable copies.
Yeah.
And that, to me, I mean, that's not okay to me. I don't care who you are, but that's just, it's not okay. And these people put so many hours and stuff into these video games, and for all their work to just go to waste and to go back to the drawing boards, that's a lot of money, bro.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a lot of money down the drain because, like I say, they had to go back and rework so much of that. And I mean, it was in depth. I mean, there was, I think they had it was like a 10-year roadmap. They're like, all right, we're doing, Wolverine, and then there's Spider-Man 3, and then I think there was a Venom sequel.
Yeah.
or a Venom standalone game, and then there was something big in 2030. I don't remember what it was, and I'm not going to look it up because it's not the point. But like they had like everything, and like I say, I think that could contribute to a reason why we don't have any Spider-Man 2 DLC, because I feel like that should have come down the pipe.
Yeah, I was highly disappointed. I don't think that's the reason why. I just don't think that they fully had any plans, and they have some plans coming forward with some of these new games that they're coming out with Marvel, because Marvel's about to come out swinging when it comes to video games in the next few years, especially the things that they've announced. So with that, I think that played a huge factor as to why we didn't get no DLC for Spider-Man 2, which, I mean, I think everyone was expecting it, but at the same time, is if they come out swinging and they have the proper stuff in place, I think it'll be worth the wait.
Yeah, I have no doubt, because like I say, everything that, Insomniac has put out has been, really solid. And I know a lot of people were looking forward to that Wolverine. And
do you think that Wolverine game actually ends up getting made, or do you think they end up scrapping that idea with as many game stuff that, and I know this is a Pokemon podcast, but with as much of the video game industry has been shutting doors on a lot of projects and just sticking to their main core audience for certain video games, and a lot of original stuff has been kind of put on the back burner. Do you think, bro, that we're going to end up even getting that game at some point?
I mean, it really depends on how far along they were. And I mean, obviously they were far enough along that, like you said, there's playable, builds of it online. So I think, that would be the ultimate, like, admission of not necessarily failure, because it wasn't anything that they had control of. I think we get it. It might not be 25, it might be 26, because I could see them doing like a complete tear down and rebuild.
Yeah.
Which
is unfortunate.
And it sucks because, at that point you're probably, and I hate to think this way because I spent what I spent on the PS5, but at that point you're dealing with maybe the last 2-3 years of the 5's life cycle before the 6 starts rumbling. So it's like, how much are you going to put into a build of a game that's only going to run on its current hardware for maybe 3? Well, I mean, it'll run as long as they support.
I was about to say, I think video games will run, because anytime they bring out a new video game, you have back support to where all the games for at least the first almost 2 years are going to be for both systems. So, unless those days are going to be slowly going away and you're going to have to get the new gaming system, which is, I'm sure they're aiming towards that. I'm sure they're going to stop with the whole back compatibility at some point, right?
Well, absolutely. And I think we're also heading to a point where you're not going to be able to get physical discs.
Yeah. Well, I fully think the next gaming system is gonna be fully digital, at least for the most part.
I think, just speaking from an Xbox perspective, I think the next system Xbox puts out might be their last system, and they just turn into a software, like, we'll just release the games through our Game Pass service.
Yeah.
And you can stream it, as long as you have the up-to-date Xbox app or whatever, you can stream it on whatever smart device.
So, I mean, Christmas these days, when that does happen, not getting video games underneath the Christmas tree for the kiddos, that's going to be really sad, bro.
Hey, you can still wrap codes.
I'm not wrapping fucking codes. I am not. That is one thing I'm not going to do. So
I don't know. You can still wrap a gift card.
What are we doing if we're wrapping a cardboard freaking gift card?
Hey, sometimes that's as good as anything. Because it's like, I know you like your PlayStation, but I don't know what to get you. Here's $50. I was like, bet.
I'll get myself something.
Buy myself something.
So.
Oh.
But yeah.
Oh, shit. I just remembered something. I'll have to tell you. I'll have to tell you when we're off mic. I just remembered something.
Okay, write it down so you don't forget.
Yeah, no, I got you. I'm making a note of it.
But all right, everyone. But we are back here. I guess we can talk about this. Me and you, we were talking the other day when I was picking up my daughter that we're thinking of doing like a Pokemon like quiz game that we were, and inviting past guests that we've had, and having them kind of compete against each other in like a Pokemon trivia game, and in kind of taking place, because these days we haven't really done too many Poke Breaks because there haven't been like extravagant like Pokemon news that's been coming out outside of maybe here and there for Pokemon Go or the new Pokemon TCG Pocket game, which I've been playing. But I mean, I don't really feel like talking about that. I want to talk more like major Pokemon news, and we haven't been getting too much of that. So in replace of that, we can start doing some of these Poke Breaks and making like a little game out of it. And it's something that we are planning on doing. And if you want to be a part of that, because we are planning on starting that up in the next few months or so, just reach out to us. If you have not been a past guest from another podcaster or anything, go ahead and go on our Patreon page and subscribe at that tier, and you can become a part of those games as well. I think it's going to be fun. I think in the future, like doing things with our fans and having extra things that go along, and we'll have like a scoreboard, like maybe you come on and you do like 2 or 3 different games. Like we'll have a scoreboard as to like the leaderboards and the people that have won the most with these Pokemon games. And maybe after doing it for a year, we put those people who have ranked the most at the very top against each other to find out the true champ.
Yeah, like the best of the best.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I was excited because we got really into the nitty gritty, and we were like throwing out round ideas, and we were trying to figure out like logistics, and I was asking you like what the Discord limit is, and
I think we'll keep it to like smaller rounds of smaller like people, not have a ton, because I think that can be a little chaotic, but do a couple games like here and there. And I'm not sure if we'll put it on the free feed. Maybe we'll put the first couple on the free feed, but basically utilize our Patreon for people that want all that extra content. Not that you're not getting enough on there as it is, but you'll be getting more. So go ahead. We are going to be taking applications for that, and if you want, sign up now. Patreon.com/every Pokemon. Become a guest on our show. Become a part of the game show. You can either do an episode with us, or you can just write us on the Patreon and literally just say, I'm signing up for the game, and then we will put you down. So, right. So yeah, go ahead, sign up on the good old Patreon, patreon.com/every Pokemon. and we are taking applications now, and we will start getting those games rolling fairly soon because we have a couple people in mind that we want to do for the first game. So we will be reaching out to you guys personally, and you should be hearing from us soon.
Yes.
But we have 4 episodes that we are getting ready to go over here today, bro. We are going to
two really meaty ones and 2 kind of
Yeah, especially that last one. The episodes that we're going over today, correct me if I'm wrong, we're going over Reunion at the Castle, or translated from Japanese, Reunion at the Old Castle.
Gotta throw that old in there.
Yeah, apparently. Premiered in Japan on October 13th. The next episode we are going over is Rivals in the Dark of Night, or translated from the Japanese title, Rivals in the Dark Night. They literally just took out, what was it? Premiered in Japan October 20th of 2023. Then we're going over Terapagos Adventure, and it's the same title in Japanese. Premiered in Japan October 27th, 2023. And the last one we're going over, As Long as I'm With My Friends. And that one premiered November 3rd, 2023. Out in Japan. So we got a lot of episodes that we're getting ready to get into, and I feel like we can't really spend too much time talking on other things. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about before we get into the nitty-gritty of these episodes, bro?
Nothing that's relevant to Pokemon.
All right, but let's go ahead and jump on into this episode, bro. You ready?
Yes.
All right, everyone, and let's get on with the first episode, Reunion at the Ancient Castle. So, we literally start this episode. So, if you remember at the end of the last episode, Terapagos is now officially in its Pokemon form and not going back into its gem form. And it's just out and walking. And they literally put Terapagos on the table, and they're all just staring at it. Terapagos like, what are you staring at? I'm just a Pokemon. Why are you staring?
Cute little Pokemon.
And they're all just they're sitting here, and they're trying to get a Rotom Dex, and Rotom phone has nothing in regards to Terapagos at all. They're like, well, you know what? Everyone just keep an eye on Terapagos. And Freed's like, I'm going to go back and I'm going to start getting us ready to fly. And yeah, let's just have it. So they're on their way over to visit Lico's grandmother.
Yes.
At this point. And Lico's grandmother is in, and correct me if I'm wrong, she's in the Galar region?
She is.
Okay. So, Lico's packing up her Pokemon. Sprigatito is just being Sprigatito, not having a care in the world. But Sprigatito seems to be pretty jealous of Terapagos and Hatena. And it's starting to give her the cold shoulder a little bit. So, I mean, we'll have more on that later on. So, we are now with the Explorers, and Hamber is talking about the Rising Volt Tacklers, and that they found a Pokemon that the gem necklace that they have been after this entire time turned out to be Terapagos.
As I suspected, you're acting without proper authorization. And you not only came too close to the Galarian Moltres, you crossed the line and battled the Rising Volt Tacklers as well.
Don't reprimand me until you see these images.
Oh, I don't believe it.
I thought it was just a pendant I had been ordered to obtain, but I was clearly mistaken because this... I have to know what this Pokemon is. Well, will you rescind the order restricting my movements? It would be a shame to lose sight of it again, yes?
Have it your way. But first, you must verify where it's currently heading.
We've determined that they have already left their ship and are currently making their way toward Hammerlock.
Hammerlock, you say? Interesting. I believe we can deduce their journey's purpose from information we've collected prior to this. But I demand you contact us before making any other decision.
Say your grievances.
Love, exciting and new.
Hello, Hannah Waddingham here. Have you seen the fabulous new Sun Princess? World-class entertainment, exceptional dining, and the greatest pizza ever.
It's a love.
Don't miss our Come Aboard sale with up to 40% off and free room upgrades. Visit princess.com or call your travel advisor to book. Princess Cruises. Terms and restrictions apply. Offer ends 2/28/25. Ships of Bermudan and British Registry.
Lowe's knows that free is just better. That's why MyLowe's Rewards is free to join. As a member, you earn points towards MyLowe's money on eligible purchases, get exclusive free gifts, and earn free shipping at Silver Key status, all on top of weekly member-only deals. Don't wait. Join MyLowe's Rewards for free today and start saving more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
How may I help you, sir?
What's Spinell doing?
Mr. Spinell is in the laboratory with Miss Culls. They'll likely be there a while.
Very well. And what of Sirio?
Yeah, I'm here.
I must head to the Gala region. I expect you and Coral to accompany me. Your presence is needed.
Yes, sir.
I'm totally beat. Look, I'm all for a fun little getaway, but why? Why with this guy?
Don't need you anyway. You should stay here and watch the base.
Do I detect dissension in the ranks?
No way!
As you command, sir.
Then make preparations.
For you to go in person, is this an emergency?
What we have sought is within our grasp. My time has come. If it truly has awakened, I will finally see the real truth.
We see Liko and Roy and Freed. They're in the wild area, and they're kind of trying to decide which way to go because there's a handful of castles, and they're like, well, we know that my grandma lives in one of them, but we don't have it labeled. And then right before they do the whole, well, we'll just split up and we'll figure it out from there, a Squawkabilly shows up, and he's like, ancient castle. And they're like, oh, I wonder. And well, Liko caught it right away. She's like, well, that's my grandma Squawkabilly, which we
must be close.
I made note of Squawkabilly as well because I was like, oh, another talking Pokemon. Like, not necessarily full sentences like Meowth, but like another Pokemon that's saying human words.
Yes.
And, so Squawkabilly.
I wonder if Jesse and James will end up making an appearance on the show at some point.
I need there to be interaction between Squawkabilly and Meowth. If only like a couple of minutes, maybe a couple sentences.
Maybe in a movie.
Maybe in a movie. Like the OG Team Rocket makes a cameo.
Yep.
So, they're following Squawkabilly, and he leads them to what looks to be the entrance to something, but it's blocked off by this giant stone journer.
Yes.
And
it is pretty cool that they use the stone journer like that, right? Because it's literally blocking a cave, and the only way to get through to get over to where this castle is.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty neat.
So they move. So Stone Journer moves along, and they're in this. They're in this tunnel area, which I thought was a bit repetitive because we just had 2 episodes where they were in the cave. But I'll have more to say about repetitive storylines here in a minute. And they're walking, and then we see as the viewer that Zerk and Anya, which if you're paying attention, I think is the first time I've pronounced her name right the first time ever.
You practiced.
They were watching. I practice. That's all I do when I get off. I'm just pronouncing names.
Wait, you're like Terapagos, Anya.
Yeah, if you know, you know. And they're kind of confused because they lose track of them. But what do you expect? They're Amethio's underlings, and then Amethio has to show up and be like, "Oh, fine. If I can't trust y'all." And then, Liko's kind of talking about what she remembers about her grandma,
celebrating her birthday, and that her grandma's kind of a little floozy. She pops up for the big things, and then just as quick as she pops up, she disappears again.
I did not have floozy as a word that I thought was going to pop up on our Pokemon podcast.
Yes,
I did not have that on my bingo card. So eventually we see them come out the other side, and they see the correct castle, and they're kind of like, "Oh my gosh, it is huge."
Yeah, but right before they see that huge castle, we get Amethio, Anya, and Zerk. I mean, not Zerk. Is it Zerk? Yeah, it is Zerk.
Yeah, you're right.
So we get the three of them, and they're following our heroes. And not only are they following, but they come to a crossroads in the forest, and they're like, our tracking system says that they went over here, but I don't see it. And they're looking around, and they're like, well, we're not gonna find them just standing here. So let's continue to search around this forest and see if we can end up finding them. And they're like, yes, sir. So that's when we come up and we have the building. So our Amethio and them, they are hot on their tails at finding this castle, which, I mean, I had to think that, that hideout with Stonejourner was good, but there has to be a way around it in order to get to because this is a big ass castle that they're getting ready to go over.
Right.
So they finally get over to this castle, and out jumps Arcanine, and Arcanine is like, I know you. And Liko's like, I know you too. How is it going, Arcanine? And she just goes over and she just hugs it. And Freed and Roy are just like, oh, okay. Well, that's pretty cool. And then out comes the grandma. Doug?
Yes, and, she introduces herself. We find out her name is Diana. This is my partner, Sprigatito. We find out that her mansion is kind of a sanctuary for wild Pokemon, because Roy makes a crack about, oh, did you catch all of these? And she's like, no, they come and go as they please. I've got my handful of Pokemon, but I like to think of this as like a safe space, which, we'll see
just a moment.
at the moment here. Let's see. Wild Pokemon.
So she has a lot of wild Pokemon inside of this castle, and Roy, being Roy, and I mean, I would have thought the same too, but he's like, you have a lot of cool ancient Pokemon inside of this house. And Diana's like, yeah, these Pokemon, they just live here. So I just let them stay here for as long as they want. And it's kind of a safe ground for these Pokemon that are in here. And Freed makes the comment, he's like, oh, we do the same thing on our ship.
Yeah, and we'll see a bit of that in a few episodes' time. But yeah, that was a good job of kind of tying those two together. And then, Liko's kind of trying to catch Diana up on the whole situation.
I have to apologize to you.
But the moment I heard that people were after the pendant, I just had to contact Luca immediately.
Did they come after you too, Grandma?
Yes. Thank you for bringing it back, Liko. That pendant means a great deal to me.
Actually...
Wait, did you lose it?
No, not at all. The thing is...
Well, hello.
I can try to explain, Grandma. I still have no idea how it may have happened. And I'm sure you'll find it hard to believe. But see, that pendant turned into this Pokemon.
This one looks like Terapagos, yes?
Terapagos?
The face is what gives it away. Who would have ever thought the pendant was a Terapagos in a dormant state that whole time?
So, it goes inactive in the form of a gem?
I had always assumed it was just another lovely jewel. I get it now. I had no idea you were simply asleep. I should have been more observant. I'm so sorry.
Wait, do you know something about this Pokemon?
Sort of. I've read a thing or two, but now that I see it, it looks quite different from everything the records say.
Maybe it hasn't evolved yet.
I'm not sure, but I will say in the records it had an extremely large shell.
Wow, I see. Very cool.
Not to mention, if my instincts are correct, I believe this Pokemon is one who traveled with Lucius.
Wait, so that's...
Lucius was its trainer?
And then we're thrown back to the explorers, and Amethio has Ceruledge use Psycho Cut because it notices it notices the Stonejourner, and Stonejourner is like, I don't get paid enough for this, and he books off, and they're like, oh, there is a secret passage, and then we see that it's dinner time at the castle,
and everyone's eating their food, but Terapagos, which I want to point out again that we're going to have more on that later.
And then, we have more with Diana and Liko, and Diana's kind of happy that Liko's kind of taking to the adventurer route. Diana shows Liko a book with like Lucius's notes and observations.
And in these books, we go back to finding out that Diana found this pennant when she was real little. So when she was little, she went up into her parents' attic, and that's where she found the book. She found the pennant, and we have a young Diana, in a flashback scene, and she's looking, and she sees the photo of Lucius, and she said that's what inspired her to start her journey. So we find out she's not really a floozy, as Liko was kind of painting her out to be. She has always been in search of answers for this book that she found, and she just always wants to know more. And every time she gets 2 steps closer, she gets 3 steps back. But in her journey, she's found many ancient things in her time, and she's seen so many things, and she's journeyed all around the world. And that's where we end up finding out that she used to be friends with Hammer, and her and Hammer would travel with each other. And it was at one point they met back up. And when they met back up, at one point, he had bodyguards with him. And Diana was like, okay, you're not the same person. You have different intentions than just helping me and following along with me. And that it was at that point that they took different paths. And Diana said, I don't want anything to do with you ever again. And that's where she hid the pennant, and she ended up giving the pennant over to Liko. And she's like, I gave it to you. I felt like it would be more protected with you. since I had people looking for me. So she can't stay in one spot for too long because she's been tracked and she keeps getting tracked. And that's where Freed's like, he's like, so it now makes sense why you had the pennant, Liko. Your grandmother gave it to you to have you help find out the answers to all of this. So basically, her grandmother put her on the trail to try to succeed without having her be known. But sad to say, she got known because she got tracked down at her school. Right, Doug?
Yeah, and, obviously that was the events of the first, couple episodes. So, Diana's talking to Freed, and she thanks him for keeping Liko safe, and Roy shows Diana the ancient Pokeball that housed the Black Rayquaza, and they talk about seeing Arboliva and encountering the Galarian Moltres in a cave, and Diana's kind of tying all that to the memories of Terapagos. And Liko is like, does the name Laqua have any significance? And as soon as Terapagos hears that, do we know what Terapagos is? He, she?
No.
As soon as Terapagos hears that, they react, by giving like an excited cry, and Diana's like, well, hold on, I have something that I want to show you. And as soon as she gets to what she needs to get, and she turns to go back to the group, she sees Arcanine and a blip bug, and she's like, "There's intruders," because she can see that Arcanine and the blip bug's guard's kind of up, and she's like, "There's intruders."
Yeah, someone's here, and then that's where we have Amethio come in, and in the process of Amethio coming in on the Corviknight, Freed throws out his Charizard right away. He's like, "Charizard!" And Charizard's like, "Ah!" And if I'm Diana, put your Charizard away.
Or go outside.
Please go outside. But no, it's all in good. Like he's trying to help protect the house, and Amethio throws out his Cerulege, and this is how we end up ending the episode. Amethio looks down and says, "This does not need to go the way that this is about to go. So if you just hand over that Pokemon, which he doesn't know the name of the Pokemon, as long as you hand over that Pokemon, we will leave, and we will leave quietly." And Freed's like, "No way!" And we end the episode. But yeah, we go and we end the episode there. And that's where we start off with Rivals in the Dark of Night. Alright, we start this episode with Hamber on a private jet with Sidian and Coral. And Sidian has his Garganacl, and Coral has her Galele.
It would appear we've lost Amethio's tracking signal.
If we ever really had in the first place. I, for one, love a good surprise attack. I'm looking forward to this.
We're gonna blow him away before you can shout surprise. Ain't that right, little Glalie? Oh, yeah, that's my Glalie.
I will be taking point on the capture of the Pokemon in question, but the two of you will be standing by.
Seriously? That is totally lame.
It would be a poor strategy to reveal our hidden aces before the final draw.
So Coral is an ace, huh? I can live with that.
This is where we will make our move. An ancient castle in Breezy Hills.
That is the pendant Pokemon, isn't it? You will hand it over to me.
What is it, Terapagos?
Terapagos, is it?
So we get back into the castle with Amethio, Freed, and Diana, Liko, and Roy. And Amethio is like, that's the pendant Pokemon, isn't it? Just hand it over to me, and we don't even need to battle. And Terapagos is looking up at Amethio, and it's squawking at Amethio. And Liko is like, what's going on? Like, what are you doing? And this is where Arcanine jumps in. And when Arcanine jumps in, Anya throws out her Golduck and tries to use Water Pulse on Arcanine. And Arcanine jumps right over it, but Amethio tells Cerulege to use Psycho Cut. And Diana's like, all right, everyone, it's time to get out of here. Arcanine, use Flamethrower! And Flamethrower is being thrown over at Cerulege, and Cerulege is blocking as much of the Flamethrower as it can. And Diana's like, Squawkabilly, you need to help our heroes, so get our heroes out of here. And this is when Zerk is getting ready to battle with his Rhydon, and Freed calls back his Charizard, and Freed, Liko, and Roy go running underneath a hidden floor passageway with Squawkabilly. Squawkabilly is leading the pack. And this is where Diana is like, I don't remember inviting any of you guys into my home.
I don't remember inviting you into my home.
The explorers don't need an invitation, lady. We go wherever we want, you hear?
Did you say explorers? Well, now that's a twist I most certainly didn't see coming.
Cerulege, get ready!
Arcanine!
That lady's intense.
Forget her. We follow Terapagos.
Diana jumps on top of her Arcanine, and they just jump out of a window. Just break that window. That's an expensive window.
That is it. Well, I mean, but she's probably got the money. I mean, you see the size of the house.
I don't think she bought that house. I think she was a squatter and just took it over because nobody was there. Let's be real now.
I don't know if I'll go that far because she's obviously done a lot of work on the place. I mean, the tunnel system and, you know, I mean, she's out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, one of those places that would be hell to trick or treat to because it takes forever to get there and to leave.
I know.
But I bet she gives out full-size candy bars.
If she's ever even home long enough to even give out the candy bars.
You know what? She strikes me as somebody that could just stay home and have the porch light off.
Yep. So, Doug, I'm going to give this part over to you with the underground passageway.
Our heroes think that they're in the clear, but they're immediately confronted with Anya and Zerk. They've been chasing them with their Skarmories, and Liko and Roy are kind of stuck, so they're like, well, we might as well try to battle our way out, and thankfully Sprigatito has the easy advantage over Golduck, which I kind of have issue with, because yes, by type, I guess she would have an advantage, but, you know, I mean, we've had multiple discussions about what level Sprigatito should be and what level it probably is. So, and I gotta figure that Golduck is more trained than Sprigatito. Type advantage be damned.
Yeah, but I feel like Golduck has a disadvantage because I feel like Golduck was either evolved like too early, because we find out Sprigatito does some work on this Golduck, and Sprigatito can't be that high of a level yet. Let's put it this way. Jesse James from the original Pokemon, their Ekans and Koffing ended up evolving, but they're not super strong. Like, you can defeat them with one attack a piece, and they're just not super trained.
That's true. They evolved because, if I remember correctly, and this is a tangent.
They were trying to help Jesse and James.
Right. So, I mean, they weren't like, oh, we've been battling and beating people. It was plot convenience. So, yes. I guess, yeah, that's a fair point.
So, but yeah, back to what you were saying. So, Squawkabilly leads our heroes to the top of a castle, and this is when Amethio comes in on his Corviknight. Freed is just a badass. He jumps off that the ledge on the top of the castle. He throws out his Charizard, and he's immediately on top of Charizard, and he looks back at Roy and Liko. He gives them the wink, and Liko and Roy are like, oh, I think that's the signal to where we need to get out of here. But Roy is sitting there. He's like, yeah, I get that, but I kind of want to see this out a little bit. So they stay and they watch some of this battle against Cerulege and Charizard that's getting ready to happen. And then we get Diana. She's in the hallway downstairs after Squawkabilly led our heroes outside. Squawkabilly comes back over to Diana, and she's like, did you get our heroes to safety? And Squawkabilly's like, yes. And she's like, all right, perfect, good. And she goes in and she starts gathering all her books inside of one of the rooms. And then she's also looking over and she sees Lucius's belt and the diary, Doug.
And, you know, I think something immediately tells her that, you know, that's going to be important. And
we go straight from that to the Pokemon battle with Charizard and Cerulege.
Oh, right. We're back there. And Cerulege is landing some attacks, hits the tower at one point. So now we've got some rubble, and Charizard's kind of contending with that. And
Cerulege is putting up some hefty cuts with its Psycho Cut on this Charizard, and they're going to literally tear this castle apart, which we'll find out in a second.
And it looks as if Cerulege is gearing up for the final shot of a super charged up Psycho Cut, and then Freed is like, well, it's now or never, and he takes out his Terra Orb, and Charizard terrestrializes
into a dark form.
Into a dark type, which is badass.
Yeah, it is.
And Charizard sets up for this huge Terra Blast, and he completely nullifies Cerulege's Psycho Cut, and
but the Psycho Cut does go over and hit the castle, and that's Liko and Roy's cue that they need to get out of here now.
Yeah, so Liko and Roy climb down and get while the getting's good, and
Zerg sends out his Rhydon, and Anya sends out her Golduck, and this is where we have Sprigatito use its leafage on Golduck, and Golduck just gets obliterated by leafage. I think the way that she uses leafage with Sprigatito should be the strongest Pokemon in the whole world with leafage. That leafage should hit spot on every single time it hits now, because she hits that move like crazy.
Her leafage is like a Bulbasaur's razor. I almost said razor blade, razor leaf.
And she uses Leafage on Golduck, and Golduck just goes straight down. But then Zerk is like, you know what? Rhydon, go after Sprigatito. And Rhydon's going after Sprigatito with its Mega Horn. And Fuecoco starts using its Stomping Tantrum and throws some rocks from the ground right over at Rhydon. But Rhydon doesn't go down right away. It looks into the house and it notices Diana inside of the home. And who's inside of the home now? It's Hamber. And Hamber is in here with his Dusk Nor. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong.
I would say Dusk Noir.
Dusk Noir. There you go. So, and Hamber is in here, and he's talking to Diana. And she's like, "I knew you were behind all of this. Why are you here?" And he's like, "You know why I'm here. Let's not be so formal here." And then all of a sudden, a big blast happens inside of the hallway, and the hallway fills up with dust. And Diana and her Arcanine end up escaping. And Diana is running through the hallway trying to get out of here. And as she's getting out, she finds out that Sidian's Pokemon, his Garganacl, is using Salt Cure on all the Pokemon to lay them on the ground and to have the salt eat away at these Pokemon. And then Coral makes her introduction, Doug.
And she has a Glalie.
Oh,
man. A Glalie, thank you. Big ass cat head. And
it is not a cat head.
It sure is. What is it if it's not?
It's an ice Pokemon.
It's a cat head.
I can just see you watching this episode. You're like, "Oh, that looks like a kitty." Okay.
Well, no, fuck you. First of all, because this was in my wheelhouse of the game, so I had me a Glalie. Glalie comes in, but then, like, as soon as Glalie's on the scene, here comes freaking Cap, and Cap's like, "Oh, let me take care of this real quick." He's just, whoa, Thunder Punch, and it's a big ass target because again, it's a big ass cat head, and then we realize that the rest of the Volt Tacklers have arrived. I mean, obviously, like Murdoch and them don't get off the ship, but they finally have a role to play after being left on the ship for like an episode and a half.
For real. And then we have Captain Pikachu say, "Okay, enough is enough. I'm going to get in on this battle." And Pikachu starts battling Coral's Glalie and Sidian's Garganacl. And Pikachu is like, "All right, guys, we're all going to battle these Pokemon. Are you ready?" And Liko and Roy are like, "Yeah, we're ready." And everyone's just looking around. And Pikachu just goes in and just starts going crazy on this Glalie. And Metagross comes down from the Rising Volt Tackler ship and looks at Liko and Roy as like, "I need to get you guys out of here. Jump on top of me so we can leave." And they're like, "Okay, fine, let's go." And then we're back with Diana. She's inside of the home and she's healing all of the Pokemon inside of the home from the Salt Cure because all the Pokemon were laid out. So she's helping all the Pokemon and she's not outside yet. So right now, as it stands, it's Pikachu and Charizard against Glalie and Garganacl on the outside.
So yeah, we're in that battle, and our Garganacl tries to use Salt Cure on Cap, but Cap avoids it and hits Garganacl with a Volt Tackle. And this is where pardon me, Coral gets pissed off and goes rogue as opposed to following Sidion's instructions and tells her Glalie to use self-destruct. Obviously, that sends everything into chaos.
She said, "You're ruining my fun. Let's make a bang." And Sidion's like, "Coral, no!" And she's like, "Shut up."
You are ruining my fun! Glalie, let's make a bang!
Don't you do it, Coral! Cap!
Glalie! You self-destruct!
Hey, Fidelity. What's it cost to invest with the Fidelity app?
Start with as little as $1 with no account fees or trade commissions on U.S. stocks and ETFs.
That's music to my ears.
I can only talk.
Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Zero account fees apply to retail brokerage accounts only. Sell order assessment fee not included. A limited number of ETFs are subject to a transaction-based service fee of $100. See full list at fidelity.com/commissions. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE SIPC.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Freed! Cap!
You know, this knocks out Glalie and Garganical. As Cap and Charizard are just able to escape the blast, and then this is where Diana makes her like big Avengers entrance and
jumps up and back onto the Rising Votek machine,
like onto the fucking wing of the ship, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen!" And I didn't have my recording it, and and then, you know, we kind of see the aftermath as Sidian and
Coral
are waiting to be picked up, and they're sitting in like this crater, and
you get a crazy shot of Glalie and Garganical just on the ground, just knocked out.
And Sidian's like, "Well, if you would have listened to me," and Coral's like, "I'm not here to hear it. I'm just, you know, do you think they forgot about us?" And he's like, "No, they'll be here. You know, maybe we don't deserve to be picked up." And
Amethio is standing in the rubble as well, and he's like, "Well, shit." Because honestly, I mean, he would have had a better shot one-on-one than everyone coming up and blowing up the damn castle and blowing his spot.
Yeah.
Don't you think, Doug?
Well, yeah, because he is so well in sync with his cerulege. I mean, you know, I mean, we've only had a brief, introduction with Coral, but we can see how quickly she angers, and obviously Sidian thinks he's like the senior member, so he was trying to give instructions, and Coral's like, "I'm not trying to hear all that," and you know, we see how it ended up. But we're back on the ship. Diana is giving some of Lucius's memoirs to Liko.
Lucius's adventures have become the stuff of legend. But you know what? I happen to believe that they are the stuff of history.
I believe that too, Grandma. I really do.
I'm so happy to hear you say that. If that's what you believe, then you must seek out the 6 heroes, Liko.
Seek out the 6 heroes?
Yes. The Black Rayquaza, Arboliva, Galarian Moltres, Lapras, Cleavor, Entei.
Every new step gets more fascinating. This is the stuff adventures are made of.
Pika Pika.
Liko, find the 6 heroes.
It would appear the wheels of fate have once again begun to turn.
I wish, finally.
And we end the episode with a brief shot of the explorers, and Humber's sitting there, and he's like, the cogs are beginning to turn again, and I think things are about to go our way. And that's the end of the episode.
So, yep, we literally end the episode there, and things are starting to really cook up in these episodes.
Yeah, but then it cools way the fuck back down.
I mean, you can't get everything all up front, Doug.
Well, they could have, I don't. Yeah, I just didn't much care for these next two.
Well, Terapagos' adventure is a repeat of what happened with Hatena, but we'll get into that in just a second. Terapagos' adventure, we're going to start, and all the Pokemon are sitting down eating their food. Bro, this food looks kind of similar to, what's that cereal called? Lucky Charms.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That's what I thought when I was watching this.
Yeah, it even looked like there was some marshmallows in there. Marshmallows in Pokemon food.
I was like, that's pretty fucking solid. And Terapagos is kind of sniffing it up, and it's like, you know what? I don't like this too much. Is this food? And Diana, we find out Diana eats just like Roy, and she's like, I want more. And Murdoch's like, all right, coming right up. And you got Roy over there just scarfing his food down like he's never had a meal in his life. And everyone's like, I just got my first. And Fukoko jumps up and he's like, I want more too. I ate all mine. And everyone, they're like, Jesus. Diana's like, yeah, we need our energy if we're going to be going up and finding all these legendary Pokemon. And so we go into Liko's thoughts for a second. She's like, yeah, that's my grandmother for you. And we end up losing Terapagos. And Liko is like, Terapagos, it's gone. Well, weren't you watching it? No. So she goes running around, and we see Terapagos runs into one of the wild Palmies on the ship and scares the living crap out of it. And Palmy just goes, I'm running away. And Terapagos is like, well, I was just trying to say hi. But I guess Liko and Roy are trying to find Terapagos. They're looking all around the ship, and then they hear a thud. And they go down the stairs, and there's Terapagos, just like a turtle, just laying on its back. And they find out that Terapagos was just hungry, but it didn't want the food that was upstairs. It wanted berries. And they're like, yeah, well, I guess we don't really know too much about Terapagos at this time, so maybe I should take some time and try to study Terapagos. So what does she do? She starts studying Terapagos. Brigatito gets hella jealous. And Terapagos, we find out, likes to play. It likes Murdoch's cake that's made with the sweetness of alchemy.
It looks like Dot is at the very beginning of a take for a Neato Thing video, and Terapagos just pops up and completely throws off the momentum, and I feel like Dot kind of overreacts a little bit.
You think so?
A little bit, because it didn't do it. It just was like, oh, I'm here now.
I'm going to put my head in your frame.
And Dot's like, oh my God, you're better. Didn't even touch a button, didn't do nothing, just popped into frame. It wouldn't even, Dot like pokes her head out and is like, Liko, you got to come in here. And, Liko's apologetic, and she's like, I'm trying, but Terapagos kind of has a mind of its own, and, kind of goes where the wind blows. Just about the time she's like, well, I'll try to be better. They look over, and wouldn't you know it, Terapagos is gone again.
Because this is Terapagos episode.
And, we're trying to come up with excuses. It's like, well, Terapagos has been asleep for a while. It's just kind of trying to catch up on exploring and,
it's a baby.
Finding out new things. And it's a baby and it's cute and it's okay.
But where does Terapagos end up this time, man? It starts scaling the side of the ship.
Terapagos has Togepi syndrome, where it just walks and it thinks it's impervious to danger. Because it ends up on basically a lookout tower on the ship. And it's about to go fucking tumbling and it's not going to make it.
Liko sees Terapagos on the side of the building and she's like, I gotta climb up there and save you now. But as she's going up to save it, Terapagos and Liko end up slipping, and that's where Diana is right there. And she was there in the nick of time, and she sends her Arcanine over to go and pick him up.
That's it. Arcanine saves him. And, Liko's, back and we're in the room with Diana and she's apologizing and she's like, I don't mean to do such risky things, but, Terapagos was in such a risky spot and I was scared and, Diana's trying to big her up and she's like, that was your courage showing out,
And let's also make note that Sprigatito saw this stuff happening and it was happy that Liko was saved, but it's still in its feelings right now in regards to not liking Liko right now.
Yeah, because Sprigatito's kind of, like you said, in its feelings and kind of being moody. I mean, if we go back to the first episode we talked about, when the ship landed and Freed and Roy and Liko were getting ready to get out, Liko come into the room and she's like, oh, Sprigatito, we're going to go meet my grandmother. And Sprigatito was like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'll stay here. And, Liko was kind of like, oh, come on. Would you come along? Do it for me. And
for real.
Terapagos, Hatana were like, it'll be fun. And Sprigatito's like, I don't think I have a choice, but, so Sprigatito's still kind of feeling that way because
she's spending all her time with the rest of her Pokemon.
And as you said about Dot kind of being singularly focused, especially when she's doing a Nido thing video, Liko has literally been dedicating all her time, I mean, especially in this episode, to kind of keeping track of Terapagos and kind of making notes of its habits. And Sprigatito's like, yeah, I don't know if I need to be around for this. But then, Sprigatito had that moment of, well, shit, I guess that is my partner. So maybe I should be a little bit more invested, but she's still kind of standoffish and giving the cold shoulder a little bit.
Yeah.
But, so, Diana's kind of trying to pump her up a little bit, talking about how, one of the reasons that, or she says Liko is the main reason that Terapagos awoke from its slumber, and she says Liko is ahead of where Diana was at her age, and she's kind of going through some of Lucius's memoirs, and we see like an early illustration of Terapagos in the book, and
she's going through that she's going to really need to be focused if she's going to end up finding these other Pokemon that are in the book, and that she was basically the chosen one when it comes down to all of this.
And this is like Liko's hype up session, and she gives Liko Lucius's belt and is like, you're going to need this to keep all of the Pokemon, Lucius's partners, in check. And it's kind of a cool shot of Liko standing there with the belt.
It is. And Liko's looking. I mean, and she has a spot on there where she can put the Pokeballs, and it looks like some stuff in case. Don't those things on the back look like old bombs?
Yeah, a little bit.
Like smoke bombs that she could probably throw out in case of any type of danger or something.
It's like, oh, so it's a utility belt. It's Batman.
Yeah, I'm Batman.
Batman. I mean, one of the episodes is talking about Dark Knight, so.
We end up finding Sprigatito on a part of the on the main deck of the ship, and Liko has to literally get down to its level. And it's like, I know you're upset because I'm spending all of my time with these other Pokemon, but I want to ensure that I still love you, and that I have to divide my time up between you and the other Pokemon that I have. And I hope that you can understand that I do still love you, and that you still have my attention, and that I care about you. And Sprigatito is just like, I guess. And she goes in to hug Sprigatito, and Sprigatito comes up and just literally scratches the mess out of her eyes. And she's like, ah. And they're like, all right, fine, we're even now.
Yeah, now we're even.
And Diana comes over with Terapagos, and she's like, see, that is basically in so little words, she's like, that's what it means to be a Pokemon trainer. And she's like, that's the kind of heart that you are going to need. She's like, thank you, Grandma. And this is where we get the, towards the ending of the episode, Liko calls a meeting with everyone.
Interesting. Huh. Wouldn't have thought this little one would want to go to Laqua so badly.
I wonder what kind of place it is.
It sounds like a place where we'd have an amazing experience for sure.
It's like a paradise, right?
A paradise, oh yeah! I bet there are berries all over the place there. That's right, I'd like to go there and bring this Pokemon with me. And to do that, I learned I have to meet the rest of the 6 heroes. I know it'll be incredibly hard. I also know I'm not quite strong enough for the task yet. Which is why... I have to ask you all now. Could you please help me do this?
This episode is brought to you by Coffee Mate. After watching this season of the HBO's original series, The White Lotus, this is the tropical getaway I needed. One more pina colada, please.
Hey, you're not on mute.
Oh, I thought I was in paradise. Turns out it was my Coffee Mate. Coffee Mate Pina Colada and Thai iced coffee flavored creamers. Inspired by the newest season of HBO's original series, The White Lotus. For the love of coffee. Try now.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
Was it ever a question?
We're all in this together. And when one of us has their heart set on doing something, we're there to back them up, aren't we? Because that's what we're all about.
Pika! Yeah! Thanks, guys!
Not only that, ever since Diana first mentioned his name, I've been wanting to learn as much as I can about Lucius.
For the second episode in a row, we just kind of have a random pop-in to remind us that the explorers are still a thing, because we see that Anya and Zerk are looking out at Methio, who's kind of out on the deck, deep in thought, and they're like, "Oh, I wonder what's going on in his head." And Cerulege pops up behind Methio, and he's like, "Oh, don't worry, Cerulege. It'll all come due in time." And that's the end of the episode.
Yep. And then that's when we go into this last hunker of an episode. This one's not, we're not going to spend too much time on like we did the other ones, because this next episode has a lot to do with like food and stuff. It's more of a filler episode, just forewarning everyone. But there are some key elements to this episode that will end up progressing in the series, so we'll focus a little bit more on those. But Doug, since you had just the last bit of the last episode, do you want to open this episode off?
we start the episode with Liko and Roy going to Dot's room and asking for a battle, and Quaxley pops out and he's ready to go. Like he's like, "All right, battle, let's go, come on." Three of us starter Pokemon, we'll go out there. Maybe we'll get capped. We'll tussle. We'll get some XP up. Come on, easy levels, cheap levels. Come on. And Dot immediately throws cold water on the situation. She's like, "I'm gonna be busy." And Quaxley's like, "Well, fuck, I can't go out there by myself." So he pops his head. He goes back in through the doggy door. And he waves and he's like, "Maybe later." And shit. And
I felt bad for Quaxley because Quaxley wants to train, and Dot is not the type of trainer yet where she's going to be proactive with her training.
And I mean, Dot did make the commitment to become partners with Quaxley. I mean, there was an official catch and everything. And, and we're not just doing that just to sit there and, this is an ironic comment to make considering we're sitting talking into a computer, but we're not, making this commitment to just sit and talk on computers all day.
Yeah, for real.
And, Liko is in there with Molly, and she's kind of checking on the Pokemon, and she's like, I worry about Dot. She doesn't leave her room too often, and and Liko's kind of like, "But I don't want to be a pest about it." But and Molly's like, "I understand you, but do you think maybe you're worrying too much?" I mean, it's a lot of push and pull. And then, as if her ears are burning, Dot's like, "We're getting close to landing if you want to get ready." And Liko's
like, "Okay, we'll just do all this later then." And then we literally jump off the ship. And it's at this point that they, I feel like it's freed Liko and Roy a lot, because freed Liko and Roy walk away from everyone to go and gather what I'm guessing is like food and to kind of like roam around a little bit around the area. And Roy sees what he thinks is like a snake-like figure. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, that must be Rayquaza over there." Like, why the heck? Does he not remember the sky going reddish black in all of this with Rayquaza? That he thinks Rayquaza is just going to be around every last corner, Doug?
He doesn't want to remember the hard part. He just wants to just randomly stumble upon Rayquaza.
And he goes over into the grass, and lo and behold, it's not Rayquaza, it's Onyx. And Onyx is looking over at him, and Frieda's like, he's like, "Okay, I'm ready to battle if we need to. This is a wild Onyx. They can be dangerous." And Onyx is like, yeah, I'm a friendly Onyx. I'm just going to walk away from this. And Onyx starts walking away. And Free Lily is like, oh, this must be one of the nice ones. And
that's convenient.
And Terapagos wanted to go with Onyx and starts crying like a little baby. And it's like, I want to go. I want to go. Let go of me. Let go. Let go. Let go. And Liko is like, oh, you wanted to go with Onyx, Terapagos? And she's like, maybe Onyx is not the Pokemon that you want to be roaming around with. And it's at that point that we find out that Dot has been following Liko and Roy, and is like supposed to meet up with someone that might have some information on the Black Rayquaza. And they go over to the coordinates, and the person is not there. And they're like, well, you know what? Since the person never showed up, let's go ahead and have supper. And Dot just feels defeated. And Dot's like, well, I was supposed to meet someone here, and now the plan's all thrown up. And what am I supposed to do now? And Liko has to tell Dot, well, Dot, things don't always go according to plan, but there's a whole lot more out here that we can end up doing. And this is when we see Dreadnought. It comes flying out of the water, and Dot's like, yeah, don't get too close to that Pokemon because it has a really, really, really hard bite. And then all of a sudden, what do we see? We see Terapagos going right over to the Dreadnought. And Terapagos walks over to the Dreadnought and is just talking to it. And Dreadnought, this is another friendly Pokemon because it doesn't want to attack either. It thinks Terapagos is the sweetest thing ever. And then it's at this point that we end up running into a traveler. Doug?
Yes. And he's like, oh, usually Dreadnought doesn't take kindly to random people popping up on it. You must have like the magic touch or whatever, because usually this thing's ornery. And they're like, oh well, we're not gonna stick around here and count our blessings because
Pokemon really likes that word, don't they?
What word is that? I'm sorry.
Ornery.
Ornery, yeah.
Because they use that word in our Pokemon Adventures podcast too.
I wonder what that word is in Japanese, like, because maybe that translates to something else in Japanese, and we're just not thinking of it.
Probably.
Then we get what seems to be a weekly thing lately, or episodely. That's not a word. They've been checking in with the explorers more often, and we see Sidian and
Coral,
and Coral is being annoying because she's flying around on Glalie, and Glalie bumps into how did you pronounce that name a couple episodes ago? Gargantical. Gargantical. And, they start kind of going at it because Gargantical doesn't put up with bullshit. And Spinel, makes his presence known. And, we find out that he was the one that gave Dot the false information. So the explorers are like in the Voltackler's heads.
I'm bored solid. Entertain Cora!
Metachan.
What do you say you stop fooling around for once, Coral? Thanks to your errant recklessness, the Explorer's reputation is getting dragged through the mud.
The point of the Explorers is getting to do what we want.
That might be true if you'd gotten any actual results.
I say it's a good thing. The worse our reputation, the more our enemies underestimate us.
Wow, that sounded pretty cool. Cool for you, Spinel.
Spinel, how did things go with the fake intel?
Flawlessly, of course. After seeing all those fabricated reports, the rising Volt tacklers are running around in the wild chasing their tails.
My apologies. Shall we begin?
We're back down with our heroes who are getting ready to have a nice little picnic. They're talking about that they're getting ready to have curry, and Dot's like, I've never had curry, and I really don't want to try it today. And they're like, oh, how have you never had curry before? And she's like, I just never had it. And Murdoch is like, you know what? I'll make the best curry out there, and you can try it, and I swear you'll end up liking it. And Dot's like, okay. And she runs away. And this is where all of our heroes end up going into the forest to find some berries to help make dessert and different foods that they're going to be eating. And we have a funny interaction with Roy throwing down some berries over to Fukoko, and there's a Screedon that is over here, and it's just taking all of the berries from Fukoko and putting it in its hairs. And Roy's like, oh, fine, I guess you can go ahead and have all the berries. And it's at this point a whole bunch of Squovent that ended up jumping down on top of Fukoko, trying to give it a hug and trying to play, and Fukoko wasn't there to play ball. So, but we end up having them get some more berries. Liko found some berries. Dot found some berries. And Roy is like, well, I guess I need to go back up in this tree now and get some more berries myself. And we have a montage of Liko, Roy, and Dot preparing food, and they all eat the food, and the food is good, but Roy is not used to hot food, and the food's a little spicy, but you know what? He ends up liking it, and so does Dot. And I don't know how much more of this I can really go over outside of talking about food, Doug, but let's go ahead and let's go to our Needle Thing video.
Hey, all you Pokemon trainers! I'm Needlething, back with an all-new video! You know, Pokemon battles aren't only one-on-one. You can have two-on-one, or even multi-battles where a whole bunch of trainers get in on the action! Just the other day, I was rocking a battle with 3 trainers at once! A bunch of Pokemon all jumbled up in battle pack a powerful punch! But remember, some of them are your allies, so be extra careful when you're going all out! The results could be explosive! And the best part of a multi-battle is that all your friends are there too! And when you're with friends, you feel stronger, right?
Zerk and Anya are watching the video, and they're like, well, it seems like they're going to be leaving pretty soon. We need to go down there.
Friends, huh?
What? Did you just say something?
Just talking to myself.
I wish I could relax, but I can't when all the bigwigs are gathering. I wonder if Master Amethio's okay in there.
The pendant Diana entrusted to her granddaughter has thus far eluded our grasp. It came into contact with the Black Rayquaza in the Kanto region. Then, with our believer in Paldea. And after encountering Galarian Moltres, the pendant finally awoke, changing into this form of Terapagos.
Cool story, but that Terracutie's still with those boars, isn't it? Since a certain someone let it escape.
I say it's time we finish off those rising Volt tacklers once and for all, and take Terapagos for ourselves.
You're singing Carl's tune! I've got chills just thinking about it!
I would argue that using force right now poses too large a risk.
That's awfully passive of you. You know something we don't?
I don't. But fortunately, it seems they've yet to understand Terapagos' true value.
We have an interaction with Liko and Dot. They're down and they're talking, and Dot was like, "Well, what was up with you today?" And Dot's like, "You were trying like really hard." Well, Liko was like, "Yeah, I just wanted to have a lot of fun out there. If you'd gone back to the ship earlier, we wouldn't have been able to have all this day together. You kind of stay cooped up in the room all the time, so I wanted to capitalize on that and actually have you down here and have some fun with you." And Dot's like, "Why would you do that?" And Liko was like, "Because we're friends, Dot. And that's what friends do." And Dot's like, "Well, thank you." And she's like, "Of course, I'm glad I was trying hard." And Dot's like, "After getting fooled earlier, I felt like an idiot. And I can't believe I fell for such a stupid trick like that." But Liko was like, "You know what? It happens to everyone. But you know what? We just move forward with all of this." And then I'll let you take over this part, because this is kind of what you were getting ready to talk about with them going back up onto the ship.
So they're going back on the ship, and they're talking about how much fun they had, and Dot's looking at the information that she has on the Black Rayquaza, and Roy's like, "Well, we've spent all this time, trying to figure out, what's going on with the Pokemon. Why don't we take a step back from that and try to figure out where the Pokeball itself came from? Because this isn't your everyday run of the mill Pokeball." And this is where Diana pops up, and she's like, "I know somebody who runs like a antique shop, and they might be able to help us, kind of gather intel on the Pokeball itself." And everybody's in so little words is basically like, "You know what? Good. Why don't we make that our plan?" And that's basically where we end off.
That was the end of the episode, and things are going to really start kicking up in these next couple episodes that we're going over. And we only have a few more of these episodes of these 4-packs that we're going to be doing to get through these Horizon episodes, and then we'll be back onto like a normal broadcasting situation that we have going on here when it comes to doing the Johto episodes in the 4-packs. So we will be back there sooner than later, everyone. But we are rolling through these Horizon episodes. So, Doug, do you want to get ready to start giving some ratings for these episodes?
Absolutely. And what I think I'm going to do, because they relate so closely to one another, I'm going to take episodes 24 and 25, and I'm going to treat them as one super episode.
Okay.
And taking everything into account in those 2 episodes, I'm going to give that chunk a 4.
Okay. And how about 26 and 27?
Oh boy.
I think a 3 would be like a perfect score for those.
Yeah, if we're combining them, yeah. I mean, if we take it separately, 26 is 2.5, and 27 is probably not far from that. But if we combine them, then I can be nice and give them a 3, and we can tip our caps and move along.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I was just so frustrated because, you had 2 banger episodes, episode 25 was basically a 20-minute long battle sequence. And there was so much going on, and there was so much explained and so much revealed. And, Liko's got a purpose. She's going to track down the 6 partners, and we know who they are. And
now it's just a matter of finding them.
And then it's like, oh, my Pokemon. It's like, ah.
So,
And then,
and then we had some filler episodes.
And then we had some filler. I was going to ask, I had it written down in my notes to ask, have you ever had curry?
No, I have not. Well, I'm not going to say no. I probably haven't. I just don't remember it because my wife likes to make certain meals, and sometimes I remember certain meals and sometimes I don't. So she probably did make some curry sometime, and I probably just forgot. Have you had it, Doug?
I've had it one time, and it was scratch made, and it was really good. It was filling. It was spicy, but not like Roy level spicy where my ears were leaking. It was good. It was really filling. It was meaty. There was a nice layer of rice at the base. It was really good.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give, just like you, the first 2 episodes, I'm going to give a 4, and the last 2 I will give I'll give episode 26 a 2.5. Well, no, I'll give that a 3, and I'll give the 27 a 2.5.
Gotcha.
So, but outside of that, I'm going to do a little bit of homework here. If you're listening to us on the free feed, please subscribe to us on Spotify. That's what keeps the lights on over here and keeps us coming back every week with more and more episodes for you. And if you're feeling extra generous, everyone, go over and get all the extra content that we have over on our Patreon, where you get our movies, you get the Pokemon audio drama. Soon you'll be getting the Pokemon game shows that we'll be hosting pretty soon. And you could also go over there and sign up, and you'll be a part of that. Just let us know in the comments that that's what you're signing up for, to become a part of the gaming, to test your Pokemon knowledge, everyone. But outside of that, again, just subscribe to us here on Spotify. But I'm not gonna drill everything into you because I feel like you get enough of that at the beginning of the episode. So, do you have anything else to add for these, Doug?
No, just always good to be on here. Got to appreciate the bangers when you get them. Take the bright spots from the filler. Yeah, I mean, we've got some positive movement. We've got a lot of things, in the fire. Should be
a good winter coming up.
Absolutely.
So, but all right, everyone. And just a heads up, because it's going to be out of our normal. We do have our Pokemon movie that's getting ready to come up, where we're going to be going over the 5th Pokemon movie, everyone. Pokemon Heroes. And that's not dropping on the free feed for once this year. That is going to be specifically on our Patreon at patreon.com/everypokemon. And you'll be able to get all of our movies and all of that content there at the $10 level per month. And trust me, you get a lot for that $10, everyone. But like I said, I'm not going to beat it over your head. But I just want to remind everyone, if you're not listening to every single episode, that yes, the movie episode will not be on the free feed this year. It will be on Patreon. So go ahead and give your goodbye, Doug.
Goodbye, Doug.
And this is Professor Chris G telling all of you that we will be back with another banger next week with the next 4 episodes of Pokemon Horizons as we go across all of the Pokemon Horizons episodes that are out and is available to us as of now. So we'll see you next week for another episode. Have a good night.